Transcripts and recordings of the podcast may not be used for any purpose without the direct written permission of the podcast owner. Welcome to LITE It Up, a podcast about resilient women balancing motherhood, their careers, personal lives, and all of the challenges that come along with being a superwoman. Each week, you'll be motivated to take action to lead, inspire, transform, and empower. Now, here's your host, Dr. Aginah Musherhah. Hey, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of LITE It Up. I am your host, Dr. Aginah Musherhah. I am so excited about this week's episode because we are winding down to 2023, which means for many of us, all of us, we are kicking into tax season, the good old IRS. Today, I have my guest, Milinia McLaughlin, who is a certified tax preparer, and she's going to be talking to us about the importance of hiring a certified tax professional and just giving us some information that can be useful as we gear up and get prepared for tax season. So welcome to LITE It Up, Milinia. How are you today?
I am fantastic. And first and foremost, thank you for having me. I really appreciate the time just to spend and have a conversation with you.
Well, thank you for joining me. As we jump right into it, because we are going to be efficient today and give folks information that they need, specifically so that they can get in contact with you. Why don't you tell my audience just a little bit about yourself and how you entered into this field of becoming a certified tax professional?
I sure will. Well, it's really the same story probably everybody has. They have entrusted professionals, quote unquote, to file their taxes, looking to get max refunds, of course, the legal way, being assured that, their documentation is being handled with care. And I was just a victim, which many of us have been, with falsified information on my taxes, which put me in a situation with the IRS where I had to pay back taxes for years. Not to mention the fact that, everybody's looking for a tax credit, right? We're looking to get the biggest bang for our buck. And after my encounter, I decided to educate myself. So as a result, I had an opportunity to become a certified tax preparer. I am due diligence certified as well as PTIN certified. My goal is to help others like me to understand what tax codes mean and what benefits they actually qualify for. I find a lot of times either we are not receiving all of the tax deductions that we should, or we are receiving ones that we should not.
Got it. Um, and I know that so many of us, because I shared with you some of my experience years ago in terms of dealing with the IRS. Won't get into that story now, but I can imagine when you're entrusting, your services to someone else, you have an expectation that you are going to get the best service possible and that you don't have to deal with the IRS because nobody wants to deal with the IRS, which in some cases can lead people to making the decision to prepare their taxes on their own, whether or not they're using services like TurboTax. And I'll admit, I'm one of those people. What are, I guess, the benefits? Can you explain the benefits of hiring a professional to do your taxes versus utilizing those programs like TurboTax or trying to do your taxes on your own, whether you're doing it the old-fashioned way or not?
Yeah, of course. I would love to. Well, TurboTax, Tax Act, those are convenient methods that can be utilized. However, those particular entities does not give you the in-depth tax credits that you may be owed. So,
Mhm.
yes, you are going to file, you're going to be in compliance. It is a basic file. They are not asking you if you were an independent contractor, if you received um, different outside ventures. I mean, a lot of us don't know that when we are content creators uh, on uh, IG or Facebook or um, that we're eligible to receive that money back, right? Because that is a part-time job. When we deliver groceries, that's considered being an independent contractor. If you cut hair in your house, that's another job. So you're
Mhm.
entitled to those credits back, right? Of course, you have to have taxable income, yet and still, um, that is a tax deduction that you can utilize. Um, I think the benefits definitely are there in regards to having a certified tax preparer
Mhm.
because of the different tax codes that you might encounter. In the event there is a situation where you are audited, that tax preparer should be available for you 365 days throughout the year to service your needs. So it's just assisting you with navigating through the IRS tax codes and different policies and procedures that they have in place, um, to be honest with you.
Okay. And I'm glad that you actually mentioned, in terms of having access to your tax preparer 365 days a year, which leads me to the question of I would imagine that you're not only working with clients during the what we know as the tax season. So do you offer services year round? And if so, like what type of services? Is it consultation? If folks have different questions that they need to ask, what type of services do you offer year round for clients?
Well, everyone has different needs, right? So it might be a situation where a client needs to file an extension for whatever reason, right? Sometimes we have situations where people are in fact audited, and or they need to do an amendment to their taxes. It's catered or to the client. It just depends because everybody's situation is different. Um, the services is to see them all the way through to answer any questions or concerns. I believe in educating, right? So I want the individual to understand everything that's being entered on their behalf, right? So it's not a situation where a lot of times there's a surprise once you get a letter in the mail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you are abreast to every step that's being made on your behalf with the IRS. Services vary. I actually am a tax preparer for D&D Tax Services. So not only does the company offer tax returns, but the company also offers credit repair services as well as insurance. As far as quotes, they are free estimates and quotes. Starting January 2nd, cash advances up to $6,000 are available for those who qualify. Just a well rounded business that's here to provide excellent customer service for our customers, and to, again, number one goal is to educate them.
How can do you work with clients who are outside of the Chicagoland area?
That's a great question, and I'm glad you brought that up because I do have the ability to service all 50 states. And each state has different tax laws, which I am abreast to. Um, and for those customers that are out of state, we have a database that's called Sequence. So it allows you to securely, safely upload your information into the database through a link so that virtual consultations can take place. Over the phone can take place as well. With technology being so great, there's so many different platforms where we can have a face-to-face conversation and share information that is being inputted on your behalf. So, um, yeah, I have an email address, milinia.mclaughlin at gmail.com. Telephone number 708-920-2630. And I'm also on just about every platform, Facebook, Instagram.
Now, let me ask you this because as we are, in the tax season and gearing up for it, there are so many changes that I'm sure people have experienced throughout the year, right? And you mentioned that your services, obviously, there's no cookie cutter approach to dealing with, taxes. Everyone has their own individual circumstances, which means that you have to um, cater your services to your individual clients' needs. Um, I'm going to ask this question because a lot of my viewers are women, and I myself, divorced mom of three, and I'm just thinking about the increased rates, divorce rate, right? And so, in a situation where a person has experienced a marital status change, like right in the middle of the year, for example, um, and they had in the past maybe filed married, jointly married. I don't know, it's been 10 years for me. But is there anything just in general that a person should be mindful of when they're preparing to file their taxes if they've had a marital status change, specifically if they were married for half the year and then divorced the second half of the year? Does that make sense in terms of, is there anything that they need to be on the lookout for, or are they permitted to change their filing status if they've been single for 50% of the year and married for 50% of the year? I don't know how that works. Like I said, it's been 10 years for me, and I've been head of household for 10 long years.
That's a very good question. Thank you for that. So basically, Gina, that is one of the most prominent, I think, red flags for anyone that's going from joint to single, right? Um, your filing status is so important on so many different levels. One, it determines the amount of money you get back. Two, it determines the amount of your deductions, right? And as far as being specific to your question, yes, you can. However, there are different qualifying questions that must be asked and answered in order to change your filing status, such as you stated, if you are divorced, okay, so you are paying your bills in your house and you pay more than 50% of those bills, then yes, you can file a head of household, right? Um, but there's also a filing status married, but filing single.
Mm-hmm.
And that also allows you to claim head of household if you are paying more than 50% of your bills, right? So again, it's specific due diligence questions that need to be asked and answered, and they're very important because, especially just depending on um, the legalities around your divorce. Is it a clean divorce? Are you guys still friends, or is it a battle? Are you guys, at each other's neck?
Mm-hmm.
Because your spouse is still your spouse, right?
Yeah.
And that's how people sometimes get out of it, believe it or not, because um, anger is something that's real, right? And if you're trying to spite someone, it's a simple phone call. I've seen it happen so many times. So it's very important that you are aware of what your filing status should be, and the only way to determine that is on a case by case basis, and it's that's why you need a certified tax preparer to make sure that they're doing their due diligence
Yeah.
and filing you correctly.
And I was going to say, and then if there are children involved, that's a totally different factor as well to take into consideration because just from my own personal experience, you've got to make sure that you know, claiming the dependents, all of the communication is in place or there's documentation in place in terms of who's supposed to claim and who is not. But that's a different topic for a different day. But I know that when faced in those type of life transitions, um, it is really important to have someone, have a professional who can help you through that process. As we prepare um, to wind down, though, the one question that I want to kind of end with is what are some of the common mistakes that you found that most people make when filing their taxes without the help of a tax professional?
I would say the number one mistake is your filing status. It
Okay.
is very, very important that due diligence is completed and questions are answered truthfully,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, I think the second biggest one is just what you said, as far as your dependents are concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, a lot of people do not understand that, sometimes we feel as though, our hands are tied if the spouse claims our dependents. Um, it's unlawful to do such if certain factors aren't taken into consideration as far as who's actually caring for that child. Who did that child live with? 6+ more months out of the year. It's different factors that go into play. And just because somebody um, files your dependent without your authorization, it's not the end of the world. That means that it's just some red tape that you have to go through, right? And then there's different measures in place to protect you from that in the future because you can get an identity code for your child, right? And if the individual cannot produce the identity code, that's a red flag. But make no mistake, I mean, marriage is, something that can be beautiful, and divorce sometimes can be a nightmare. So there's other laws that's in place because if you guys both are active in the dependent's life and everything is 50-50, and you can't come to an agreement, the IRS does have a rule called the tiebreaker. So whoever has the highest income, I guess I should say,
Mm-hmm.
will be the one that files that dependent. So a lot of times it is important to come to to be collaborative in the process, right? A lot of times I know individuals take turns filing their children. Well, you can have them this year. I'll have them, even years, odd years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just a lot that goes into it. So, specifically, I would say dependents, filing status, and also tax deductions. Again, there are so many different tax deductions that we qualify. It is on a state by state basis because everyone is governed based on their state laws. The federal government is just that. But again, as I stated, there's different incentives for different states. Just depends on what's going on in your state. And they're new every year. That's why it's so important to get someone who is certified and who certified by the IRS, let's say that.
Mhm. Right.
Not certified by another tax preparer, but
Mhm.
there are different certifications that you can actually receive from the IRS, so
Mhm.
that you are abreast to the new tax codes and laws because they are ever changing.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, I am not keeping up with that at all. So there's have enough on my plate as it is, as I'm sure so many people do. But this is actually a great start to talking about taxes and just the importance of making sure that you have a professional that you can turn to help you in that area. One thing that I would like to ask is, A, will you come back? Because I know that there are some things that we could talk about a little bit more in depth. So I want to extend an invitation for you to come back to be a guest on Light It Up.
I would actually love that. And I would love to come back and maybe have an interactive session, maybe some questions
Mhm.
uh, that your audience would like answered directly, because we can sit and talk about, general things all day long, but specifically, again, each person's situation is going to be different. So, what are some things that I can educate us on, right? I just feel like as women, a lot of times we don't get the support that we need.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm all about supporting us, right? Educating us
Mhm.
so that we can better navigate through this thing called life.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I would love for you to share your contact information so that people can reach out to you because, you know, 2023, we're wrapping it up in just a few short days. And I know that folks are going to be ready to file their taxes, I'm sure. So how would my audience get in contact with you if they'd like to utilize your services?
Well, again, I am currently completing free quotes, and that is just an estimate of what you are looking to receive. We can do that one or two ways. You can reach out to me via telephone at 708-920-2630, or you can DM me on Facebook. I am listed as Milinia McLaughlin. On Instagram, I am Miss Mac 0326. Or you can send me an email. It's just my first name, Milinia.McLaughlin at gmail.com. I am constantly posting tax tips just to educate everyone. This is free knowledge, and I want everybody to win. And that's why I do it. Just to let, even if you don't use my services, I still want you to be aware of your rights and what taxable income can truly, truly be deducted. Definitely specialize in self-employment, small businesses. So I am ready to help us finally understand how to navigate through the muddy waters of the IRS.
Awesome. Well, thank you very, very much for taking the time out of your schedule just to chat with me today. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to connecting with you and having you back on in 2024. And for those of you out there, please make sure you get in touch with Milinia McLaughlin so that you can get a free quote or determine whether or not there's an opportunity to utilize her knowledge and experience in the field. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Light It Up. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Light It Up YouTube channel. And also share this episode with a friend. Make sure that you share all of the valuable knowledge that we are presenting to you on Light It Up podcast. And so until next time, remember to continue to light it up and shine bright like a diamond. Thanks for joining me this week on Light It Up. Make sure you visit my website at www.lightituppodcast.com or www.aginahmuhammad.com. You can also find me on social media using the handle @LITEITUpPodcast. If you like what you've heard, please be sure to hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, I'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or you can simply tell a friend about the show. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday for a new episode. Until next time, light it up and shine bright like a diamond.